Mark Hernandez.
Been
Now
months.
we're rolling.
All right.
I'm so glad that you're here. Well, I was telling you before we started rolling how excited I've been about this because you're one of these guys. So I came across, we first crossed paths when our kids were playing t-ball together.
Yeah.
We didn't really connect a bunch, but then I think we really officially met at the rodeo.
Yeah.
But since then, I've been, we've become fast friends, and we have a whole lot in common, and obviously get to stay in touch with you on social media and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things about you that I think are remarkable. To set the stage for everybody listening, you are a commercial pilot who just got a new job today, which we'll be able to dive into.
Absolutely.
A father, a hunter. You shared with me at one point an anecdote about your Instagram handle, which is Body by Atlas.
Yep.
And sort of this, I don't know, mentality behind like proving people wrong and getting out of shape in the airline industry.
Yeah.
To start our conversation, one of the things that I thought was really unique about you, it was a few months ago, and I think you were doing 75 hard.
Yeah.
And I was just paying attention to, you keeping up with that through social media.
We attempted it.
Yeah.
Didn't finish it. We attempted it.
But the what was crazy is I think you were in some like Middle Eastern country. You were somewhere on the other side of the world just doing your job, and you were still sticking with 75 hard and things like that. And I just thought it was so powerful to see the consistency, because so many people, I think, we let work be the reason why we don't do certain things. And in your world, when you're doing these long haul flights and, traveling all over the world and things like that, nobody would blame you ever if you're like, no, I just flew for 15 hours. I'm going to stick it out.
I'm going to go drink beers and not work out. It's like, and that's the common theme in the airline industry is like, to touch on the Body by Atlas thing was like, when I first got with the airline I fly for is Atlas Air right now. And, everybody's like, oh, you're going to, in your first year, you're going to get the Body by Atlas. You're going to gain 15 to 20 pounds as you're flying around the world in a 747. And I was like, 26 at the time. And I was like, 15, 20 pounds. I'm like, if it's muscle, great, count me in, But they were talking like, you're going to sleep when you're tired. You're going to eat when you're hungry. And when you're constantly changing time zones, it's like it's easy to fall into that trap, and I've definitely fallen into that trap. Don't get me wrong. I'm no perfect human being, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if you can get your blood flowing after getting off of a plane for 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, halfway around the globe, my outlook is just a million times. I sleep better, I feel better, everything's better. And
that's what I'm so excited to pick your brain about, because it's been clear that there's intentionality behind these things that you do, and I think specific, especially it translates from your physical fitness endeavors. But even the fact that you made your Instagram Body by Atlas as kind of like a birdie to everybody who says that you're going to get the Body by Atlas. But I would love to hear from you, and I think it's especially why I've been super excited to pick your brain, because of the combination of two things: the commitment to physical fitness and fatherhood and all the other things.
Yeah, of course.
While also this crazy job that you've been, and we'll dive into the new job, which I can't wait to hear about. But
of course.
The current job, you're gone weeks at a time, traveling all over the world, which is really cool, but would be so easy, to slip into unhealthy habits, which there's a gamut of, that I could totally see happening. Why? What has made you say, I don't care if I'm at a hotel in Timbuktu or wherever in the whole world, and I'm going to get on the stair step, or I'm going to, make the most of what I've got. I mean, I've even seen you running outside in other countries, and it's just crazy.
Negative 10-degree weather in Anchorage. Well, this is actually before you followed me, before I had knee surgery, and I was training to be an ultra marathoner. I mean, dude, I carry my snow tracks, my vest, my tights, my gloves, my hats, and I'd pull into Anchorage after a 12-hour flight, and they have this sick trail in downtown Anchorage that just runs along the water called the Coastal Trail, and it would be like 10 degrees, and people were like, you're gonna go for a run? Like, yeah, I'd be walking down in the lobby of the hotel in my tights and all my gear on, and guys are like, meanwhile, guys are going to the bars, and I'm like, oh, what do you mean? It's 5 p.m. I know it's dark outside, but it's like I'm going for a run, and it's like negative 10 degrees outside. And I might only hammer out, 3 to 5 miles, because by that time my knees are numb and my toes are numb, and I'm like, I need to get back before I get hypothermia out here stuck on this trail getting kicked by moose. So,
but you did it. You do it, and where does that come from? Like, paint me the picture of, where did this discipline start from you? Is this something that you got from your parents? Is it something that you've learned from, is it self-instilled? Like, where in the world does somebody have the commitment to go do a below zero run in Anchorage, Alaska?
I have phenomenal parents, and I'm very blessed in this world to have a mother and a father and raised in the same home. And my dad has always worked hard. I've seen my dad train for marathons. I've seen my dad perfect his golf game. My dad was always there playing football and cheering me on. And I think it starts at a young age playing competitive sports. I mean, I was always undersized. I was always small. I was extremely fast, but I was just the smallest guy in the field all the time, whether it was soccer, football, track, didn't matter. And I think a lot of that drive and motivation just comes from, like, over the years, like, always being doubted. Like, you're not going to be good enough. You're too small, and it was like, okay, you're not fast enough to run in college. And I ran at a D1 school, and, you're not going to do this, and you're not going to do that. And then it was like, oh, he's going to be a pilot. He's going to get divorced from his wife. Like, pilots cheat on their wives. And it was like, no, not at all. It's like, it's just the constant drive to just prove people wrong and just simply get 1% better every single day.
Yeah.
Of course, there's days where I don't do anything. There's days where I do way too much. And it's like, just out of the realm of people. They're like you said, it's like, oh, you get off a plane for 15 hours and you're out there like crushing a workout in the gym at 2 a.m. in Korea. It's just it's almost like a drug. It's like I'm addicted to fitness. And even my wife says, like, oh, you're so addicted to your body image, and I'm like, yeah, because it's just I just love being able to watch my body transform, whether I'm on a bender and I'm getting out of shape, and then it's like, okay, let's get back in shape for 30 days and let's see how shredded I can get. And it's like, just to be like, everybody can do it. I'm just an average human being. I work a job, I have a family, I have hobbies. I don't just like sit at home and eat potato chips and watch movies all the time. Right? So it's like being able to juggle all those things, to me, it's just normal life for me.
And that's, I think one of the most unique things about physical fitness in particular is that it can't be bought. Like, it is the only thing that I know of, at least, that there are no shortcuts to. You can't cheat your way to it. There is no, like, if somebody's physically fit, that there is a great amount of discipline and consistency and delayed gratification, and, all these other characteristics that go with it, which is, I think, why, when it relates to physical fitness, it's usually a reflection of larger characteristics. Of course. You know what I mean? Like larger perspectives on life and larger intentions and larger priorities. Yeah. Which is, I think, because one of the things I was going to mention too, that I'm interested to kind of see how all this ties together with you, because I think one of the coolest parts about you has been the magnitude of success that you've experienced at such a young age. Yeah. I don't even know how old you are.
I'll be 31 in January.
So you're 30.
Yeah.
So in your 20s, though, you have, built a career through piloting, which I want to hear about that. But you also have 2 really well-behaved kids. In fact,
that's such a compliment, because they were just terrorists in the restaurant we had dinner at.
Well, sounds like kids.
Exactly, right?
Quick story on that, by the way, though. We ran the Thirsty 13, and Molly ran it, your wife. Yeah. And at the finish line, your kids were there, and they had this, like, I don't know, it was like a sprinkler hose thing, set up for people to cool off on, or whatever. And Nathan saw it and was like, oh, go play in the sprinkler, but of course, wanted me to go and whatever it might be. And your son was there. And I think I messaged you after, because I kind of put my hand down to, like, give him a high five type of thing. And he thought I was kind of, giving him a hug. And so he gave me a hug and, remembered me. And I thought it was cool and that's why I messaged you, because he had this confidence too, and he knew me at that point from like another T-ball dad.
Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't, we hadn't had the dinners and hung out and stuff yet.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool because they are great kids. And he was polite and, came and said hi to me in a very public setting. And Molly wasn't even there. He was kind of like being independent and stuff too, which was...
He's extremely independent.
It was really cool. But and then, you've got this beautiful home on acreage that it just, you've got all these accomplishments at such a young age. Do you feel like because you mentioned earlier kind of this like, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but there was sort of this idea of like proving people wrong.
Yeah.
Like, almost moving with a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
As it relates to physical fitness specifically, but is that kind of been a contributing factor to these other successes too? Like what's been the, what's the motivation behind all that?
My dad's successful. He came from nothing, was on his own at 16 years old, went to left home, didn't go back, went to college, got his master's degree, and now he's an executive for IBM. And so I had really good mentors in life. And my dad's best friend, who grew up, my dad grew up in Telluride, and his best friend, Uncle Demian Brooks, he's an airline pilot for Delta. And so, being a millennial in my generation and seeing people just like work restaurant jobs and work these odds and ends jobs and, get business communication degrees or, liberal arts degrees and just blow their whole lives away. It's like, I hate to like shit on my own generation, but it's like, it drives me crazy that there are so many opportunities out there in the world and people are like, oh, the economy's crashing and I don't have money for groceries. And I'm like, there are 10 ways you could look up on Google tomorrow and go make $100 like in seconds. Yeah. It's just like, it's dumbfounding how easy it is to make money. There are people out there willing to just give money away and people don't understand that. And that's like part of the motivation was just like, I gave up. I went to college online. I withdrew from college, went to pilot school at 20 years old.
You were 20 when you started pilot school?
Yeah, I was 21. I was young, and I banged it out in a year, instructed for 6 months, and then I went to a company in Arizona, and I did Grand Canyon tours and Lake Powell, and it was like the greatest job in the world. And then that's when Molly and I got pregnant. I was 100 hours away from going to starting my career. It basically set my career back almost a year.
And at this point, so when you're 100 hours from
1,500,
and what's the
airline minimum? So,
okay.
So after, I think it was after 9/11 or something, they passed a rule that said you have to have 1,500 hours of flight time to fly for a 121 carrier. And that to you is gibberish at the end of the day. It's just the type of regulations that all airline pilots that you can imagine, that's the regulations that we operate under is 121 pilots. And so I flew skydive. We moved to Wisconsin. I flew skydivers, finished my hours. Molly was like, I don't want to live here. Let's move back to Arizona. And I was like, say less. Let's go back to Arizona. That's where I'm from, like, sounds good. And so we moved back, and I went to SkyWest Airlines, flew passengers for 2 years, and then I got on with Atlas I was technically 25 when I got on, and then I've been, flying in December. I turned 26 in January, and I've been flying 747s for 5 years just around the world. And
what initially, because you talk about that, like, I don't know, breaking the millennial kind of stigma of like being willing to, grind and put the work in and stuff like that. What initially was the driving factor because again, speaking of how early all of this has happened for you, but to be at 20 and, pursue your pilot license, were you pursuing that because you thought it'd be fun? Did you know that it'd be lucrative? What was the, when you decided I'm going to be a pilot, what was the main reason why?
All the above. I grew up around my uncle coming to Telluride and going to Bluegrass Festival and skiing Telluride and then skiing Park City with my uncle and going on Alaskan fishing trips and growing up around my uncle who, like, not to, like, put it lightly, but like as a 16-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, all you see is these guys that have smoking hot girlfriends and they have nice vehicles and nice vacations, and you're like, do you even have a job? Like, do you even work? Like, oh yeah, I went to work for like 3 days and I got the rest of the month off. And I was like, 20-year-old kid is like, yeah, that sounds good. I might as well just like go try to be a pilot, like, I fly with plenty of nerds that are like, when I was 2 years old, I saw a plane in the sky and it was like, I'm going to be a pilot. I'm like, no, that's not me. Like, fitness was always my passion. Like, the second that I started lifting in high school and then got into college and I ended up quitting track and field, and one of my best friends was a bodybuilder in college. And I kind of credit a lot to him too. It's just like fitness was my passion, but it's hard to make money in the fitness industry, right? I mean, the physical trainers, or personal trainers, is like, it's a hard industry to like get your foot in the door. And so, and I needed a more stable career. And when my dad and my uncle sat me down, they said, listen, like, your business marketing degree is not going to do it. You need to be a doctor. You need to be an engineer. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be a doctor because I'm not good at science, but I can be an engineer because, well, I'm already done with math and I'm a freshman in college. Like, that's, easy. Numbers come easy. And then like a month later, my uncle was like, why don't you like try to go join the military and be a pilot? So I tried to join the military, failed my color vision test. He was like, no worries, just go the civilian route. And I just went the civilian route and just dove headfirst, blindly, didn't even know what a rudder on a plane was, didn't know any aerodynamics. I knew absolutely nothing about airplanes. Not a single plane part other than the wheels.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I knew nothing and just dove heads first and just dedicated my entire career because now at 30 years old, I'm set.
Yeah.
And it's like I knew that the payoff for 7 to 10 years was going to be brutal. It was, I'm going to make no money. I'm going to work a ton of hours. I'm going to have the worst work rules possible and never be home. And in the middle of all that, I so happen to start a family and get married.
Right.
And now it's like, just got a job with American Airlines. And I'm like, okay, we're going to move back to Phoenix and I'm just going to be home 20 days a month and work as little as possible and play golf as much as I can.
Which congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
It's interesting to hear you say that because there's some parallels there with physical fitness too. Like being willing to put in the work, sacrifice for 7 years, like knowing that there's a bigger return on the horizon, but having the resiliency to just do it anyway. Yeah. I mean, that to me sounds a whole lot like working out too, of like diving in and putting in the reps so that the results come
That's it.
way, way, way later.
Yeah.
How have you, because we talked about this very demanding career with crazy hours, crazy traveling, and, it's great to hear that there's light at the end of that tunnel for you.
Of course.
But, you've got that. You started a family during the same time. The physical fitness has remained a priority.
Yeah.
How have you prioritized and balanced, these 3 very significant hats that you have to wear amongst the others too? There's all the other normal things, you got to still mow the lawn and,
exactly.
all the normal stuff. But how do the priorities change, and how have you found out how to balance those 3 huge, huge things?
It all started when I had kids. It was like being able to play with my kids at an older age starts when you're younger. And, you can't be 45 years old. Well, I mean, my kids are going to be 18 when I'm 42 or 43. So it's like when I'm 35, I can't be out of shape and my son's playing high school football or high school soccer or whatever he decides, baseball, whatever. Like, I want to be able to go out there and be able to throw the ball for him, run with him and chase him and his friends and get them all together and play together. So a lot of that all stems from just like being able to, one, provide for my family. I'm a very old school, traditional man in this world, which is highly uncommon. People like you and I are like a diamond in the rough nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like, so being able to just like kind of do all that, it's almost like in my DNA. It's like I was raised this way. My dad provided. My dad was in shape. My mentors in life, like everything that I have done in my life, I give back to everybody because I have had the greatest mentors. I have the most phenomenal wife in the entire world. She stays in phenomenal shape. She supports me through my career. She's so excited for me to finally be home more. Like, if I wouldn't have taken the American job and stayed at Atlas and upgraded to captain, she was like, I'm so proud of you for doing that too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no no doubt in her mind that she would have been like, no, definitely, you need to go to American. It was like, honey, you just do whatever you think is right. And I sat her down. I was like, like, what's best for the family? Like, well, what do you really want me to do? Because I'm going to take a pay cut for the first year, and then like it's going to be exponentially higher for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
For at least the next 10 years.
Another example of delayed gratification, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because there's
small sacrifice, big reward.
There's these themes of that I'm picking up already, you know, in your life, and this story of like, it's almost like you have this ability to, I think so many times people are unwilling to be uncomfortable in the here and now.
That's it.
Whether it's the pain of a lift, the pain of a run, the pain of a pay cut, the pain of, you know, school and you know, getting your pilot license or whatever. And I think that's really powerful, that it seems like there's a recurring theme where you've been willing to be uncomfortable, knowing that there's a larger return. You know,
you have to be willing to be uncomfortable, or you have to be willing to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. In my entire life, it's just basically that's the motto, right? I mean, like my shirt says it all. Must be nice. You know, I can't tell you how many times people, you know, growing up, it was like, oh, must be nice, and it's like, yeah, it must be nice. I worked my ass off to get to where I'm at, and you know, now I own a ranch, and you know, I might sell the ranch and go move back to Phoenix and buy a nice house. But it's like, anybody can do this. Literally, anybody can do this. You can find any career, you can find any job, and as long as you're willing to put the hard work and have the dedication to just strive for greatness, anybody can do anything.
Yeah.
This world is limitless.
Where does that come from? Because you've talked about your dad being and these good role models and things like that, but it's almost like when you say that, even to me, it's almost comes across as like casual, like factual, like anybody. You have this belief that the sky literally is the limit and that you can accomplish anything. Is that something? Because it sounds like you've had a great role model system and, you know, these great people to look up to. But were there moments in your life that like reaffirmed that, you know, where I don't know, you had the goal that felt bigger than it should have been, or, you know, was there some, if you look back in hindsight, is there some little wins that helped you get there? Was there some losses? Anything that comes to mind for like how that perspective came about?
Honestly, no. I mean, maybe it's like the Joe Rogans and the Cam Haineses of the world and the Jocko Willings. Like, I mean, you know, through college and social media, you know, my dad was always like, you need to get off that social media, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you fall trap to that. And I'm like, no, it's like, it's just listening to those guys and see other people. You know, Cam Haines, for example, you know, came from nothing, was a bow hunter, you know, shooting stick and arrows basically, to being sponsored by Hoyt and Under Armour and Run Speedland now, and, you know, Origin Camo, and just all those guys that have like just came from nothing and made themselves. I don't want to say like I find motivation. Like, I don't look up to them because I'm like, you know, great, they're great guys. I like what they have to say. But at the end of the day, everybody's their own person.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like I truly can't just like say like there was one event in my life that made me this way. I just like always had this mentality of like, I want to be better than everybody. I mean, like, I want to be cocky. I want to be confident. I want to be able to show up and walk into a room and have people be like, that's the guy right there.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell by the way that guy walks that he means business.
Right.
But it's really like, it's just nothing. Like, I can be the most humble guy in the world, or I can, you know, just be an ordinary dude all the time. You know, it's just, I don't know. There's no exact one moment that I can like stem back to be like, this is what shaped my mindset.
Like, and you know, you mentioned those Cam Haines and, you know, the Joe Rogans and that of the world. What's interesting, I think, about examples like that is, you know, especially in the case of Cam Haines, you look back and he's been doing what he's been doing forever. Like, that's who he is. Yeah, you know, and so it's cool to see the compounding results from that, you know, for him.
Yeah.
And I get similar inspiration, you know, motivation from people like that. And coming back to the social media side of things, I've been saying forever that we don't need to use social media less. We need to use social media more intentionally.
Yeah.
And
Totally
even
agree.
algorithmically, you start being intentional about the content that you're consuming, and you'll get more of it, and it kind of feeds in, and and people can go so many different paths there if they're not careful.
Yeah.
You start consuming some of the negative stuff, and you get bombarded with it.
Absolutely.
Start consuming the positive stuff, and you get bombarded with it.
It's
and then you get a
amazing
little
how those
momentum.
algorithms are.
Isn't it crazy? But that's where it's cool because, you mentioned that like anybody can be the best version of themselves that they want to be or need to be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even necessarily, for us, it happens to be physical fitness and fatherhood and things like that. But
Of course.
everybody has their version of
Their why.
that. Yeah. And I love hearing that perspective from you of like finding the motivation or the inspiration or whatever you want to call it by intentionally choosing the type of content that you're consuming to kind of like keep you, keep you fueled, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's so much hatred, there's so much drama, there's so much politics and everything. And, I've fallen prey to posting political things online and caught in backlash on it, and it's just like, if you can, it's amazing, you can like 3 videos about loving your spouse, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of loving spouse things on your Instagram, or, here's 3 videos about running and I'm going to get motivated to start running. And it's like, oh, here's 10 videos of running, Same thing with fitness. It's like, it's just amazing. And I love that quote that you just said, that I don't think we should be using social media less. We should be using it more intentionally.
Yeah.
Because, and they've admitted it, right? I mean, they've admitted that the algorithms are there to put people down these rabbit holes, and that's a major reason of depression and suicide rates in young teens. I mean, you look at Instagram models, right? They're famous because they're hot, and these girls in middle school, elementary school that are getting cell phones now. Like, how old were you when you got a cell phone?
Oh, geez. I bet I was in high school.
Yeah, I was in 7th grade. I was 13. I got a flip phone.
Yeah, I was probably 14, 15.
Yeah, I got a flip phone that you couldn't send pictures. You had to type 17 times to type out one word just because it had 2 S's in it.
And you were charged by the text.
Yeah, exactly. 10 cents a text. Like, oh, your text limit's up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, darn, here you go. I'm 5 days into the month. It's like, I think that people are so consumed and like sucked into comparing themselves to others, and instead of just finding your identity and finding something you truly love and bettering your craft day by day, it's a slow process.
Yeah.
It's like we said, it's all about making the sacrifices. If there's an end goal at the end of the tunnel, you have to be willing to make that sacrifice. Nothing comes easy in life. Nothing's given to you. Everything's earned, right? So I think that too many people just they get sucked into they get sucked into the celebrities and the politics and the Instagram models, and now it's OnlyFans, and it's like, can't you just go out and be yourself?
Yeah.
You don't have to be so and so. Just be Ben Sorensen, be
Right.
Eric Hernandez. Make your own way in the world.
Yeah. You mentioned, occasionally slipping down a path of, posting political stuff or whatever and getting flack for it. I'm curious, have you ever gotten flack for the physical stuff? Like, has that ever been received negatively, or is that universally pretty either quiet or positive from the physical fitness?
I've probably posted some controversial fitness things. Absolutely. I mean, about body image, I go through periods where I'm just like, I get sick of people complaining about how they're fat or how they're out of shape or how they're tired. And I'm like, okay, just go for a walk. Just start your day or end your day with a 30-minute to an hour walk. I mean, it's as simple as that, just getting your blood moving and working out. And it's like, there is absolutely no excuse. And I get it. Not everybody's into fitness. Not everybody's into building muscle or, running 100 miles. That's not for everybody. But when I start catching flack online about posting body image things, I'm like, okay, so obviously there's a disconnect here because, you're mad at me for making fun of you because you're out of shape, but at the same time, you're jealous of me because I'm in shape.
Right.
And it's like, it's not that hard, honey. Like, all you got to do is like maybe not go to McDonald's 3 times a week and cut it down to once a week. You know, it's like, go for a walk a couple times a week, like slowly build that process. And when you start seeing people online, like, and even people in your real life, like my uncle, for example, and my brother, my brother was an alcoholic and a drug addict and didn't do anything. And now he's running 100-mile races and he's completely sober and he has a great career. He's, in mechanical engineer. And, my uncle who just like, he's been sober for like 36 days and he's out here sending me texts every single morning, like got my workout in. I'm like, fuck, he's beating me to the punch. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I need to get up. Like, I'm supposed to be the one that's like, you going to get your workout in today? Right. And my uncle's texting me every day, like, oh, here's my workout today. Here's what I did today.
Is he texting you because you've motivated him? Or
definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Isn't that crazy too, how I'll call it a positive feedback loop?
Yeah.
Can have, like, I'm seeing it in my life right now.
Absolutely.
Where I've had a few people give me feedback that I've inspired them or that I've motivated them, which is the most motivating thing to me ever.
It is.
Like when somebody tells me
I've had that
it's the best thing, in the world. And so I love hearing that, your uncle's texting you and saying, getting after it. Because now you've got, the accountability buddy too. You get some more fuel and this great kind of like growth momentum can happen. And that comes back down too to, I was mentioning about social media.
Yeah.
I have found a community on there. I mean, I've connected now with people that
I bet.
I consider like actual friends.
Yeah.
And never have met in person, but
of course,
message and whatever and like root for people. And it's been crazy to see how there are like people truly in my corner.
Yeah.
You're on that list. Like we're always, giving each other kudos and like good,
exactly.
reaffirmations and stuff. And it's so, I think that you don't realize how impactful that stuff is until it starts happening.
Yeah.
And then you end up like, it's a whole nother level now. And it's like, people get to start helping each other out. And
exactly.
It's just cool.
It's just a snowball effect. Like I've always wanted to, like I said, like fitness was always my passion, and I would love to just like grow my Instagram account. And the whole Body by Alice thing was like, I was going to create workout plans and create an app for people that travel, not just pilots, ideally pilots and flight attendants, but like pilots and flight attendants are like a very, very small percentage of business travelers, right? I mean, that's pilots and flight attendants are like 2%.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Well, maybe 1%, and everybody else like business travelers. And how many of these CEOs and how many of these business execs or marketing agents that are going to get clients or sales reps, fly in and, get to a hotel and they're like, and then it's like, oh, we got to go to this dinner and it's dinner and drinks tonight. And it's like, okay, just I'll be there in 30 minutes. I got to go to the gym,
Yeah.
It's just like, that's why I wanted to start. Is like I would love to, have 100,000 Instagram followers. It's like it's a very, very slow process until you catch that one break or that one reel goes viral, and then it's like, boom, and now the doors are open.
Yeah,
and it's like the world is yours. You got to just take that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, you should do that because I've got to travel for work. I probably travel once a quarter at least.
You're flying private jets.
One time, sometimes. But yeah, we're this huge. No, but I find that how I relate so much to how difficult that is because for me, running is a big priority.
Yeah.
And I prioritize strength training, but the primary focus for me right now is running. And there was a time just recently we stayed in Cherokee, North Carolina. We were working at the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad.
Oh, sweet.
And
I saw that. That was
it was great time. The hotel we were in has this little like, the Marriott like fitness room. But
it was
like
treadmills, couple of goals, and like 5-pound weights.
Yeah, but it was like 100 degrees in there and humid and just it was miserable in the room. So I had to start running outside, but I didn't really know like where I was or whatever.
Yeah.
So I ended up lapping. There's this huge casino across the street from the hotel.
That's where I would have been.
And I just lapped it over and over again, to get in the miles. And it was always really early in the morning or really late at night because of those other commitments of like, the dinner with the client.
That's doing hard things. things.
Yeah.
Finding a way to do things when you don't want to do them. You know, running in extreme temperature. Like you posted a video the other day of running in 14 degrees, and I was like, I just would love to go and do that, but my knee just won't allow me to do that. And I'm like, I want to just like push through it. The last thing I want is to re-injure myself.
True injury,
so I'm
yeah.
like, oh no, like, am I stuck on riding a bike for the rest of my life? And it's like, no, like I can run 3 miles, and it's like I'm running at a 10-minute mile pace, and it's like, to me before, like an 8.5-minute pace was like a 10-mile run, and it was just like my heart rate doesn't get above 130. It's like
Right.
I'm just cruising. I'm just going for a jog, you know. And now I'm like 10-minute miles. I'm like twiddling my thumbs, like okay, it's 3 miles, like, and then I just like you got to dig deep and find the motivation. Like I said, I was going to do 5 miles today. It's going to take me 50 minutes. Okay, let's see if I can do it in 40. Let's crank it up 0.5 on the treadmill. You know, it's like, please don't injure your knee. And then it's like my knee starts throbbing, and I'm like, well, shut it down. I'm not trying to re-injure myself. It's hard right now for me.
You mentioned, and don't get injured, by the way,
No,
because you got plenty of hard things that you do.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned that idea of like, you know, doing hard things and the benefit from it, and we talked about it early on. Because I think it relates to this idea of delayed gratification and some of the sacrifices that you've made in your life.
Yeah.
Of doing the hard things, you know, beyond. One of the things that I've been contemplating lately, and I'm curious your perspective on it, is instilling that in our kids, because there's, I think, conflicting realities where on one hand, I have this incredible drive to be successful and make a great life for everybody and, you know, be the provider that we touched on.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I see the value of my kids doing difficult things and like going through adversity and stuff. So I'm curious from your perspective, how do you balance that? Because you're clearly very driven as a provider, you know, as the father of, you know, as with your kids and things like that. But you also see the benefit of struggle and doing the hard things.
Yeah.
Where do you find that? How do you balance that when you're raising your kids?
I think there's a happy medium, right? You know, it's like, again, like I was raised very old school, very traditional. We're talking wooden spoons and leather belts type of old school traditional raising, and I think that another problem in today's society is kids are a product of their environment. And you see my kids and you see your kids on social media. When you're in the gym, they're in the gym because they see that they want to be like their parents. So if you have a parent that sits at home and sits on their ass all day long and just like goes to work and comes home and cracks open a Budweiser and eats Lay's potato chips, guess what? That kid is lazy. That kid is fat. That kid is obese. And I blame nobody but the parents. I put 1,000,000% blame on parents nowadays for everything that is happening. I think social media is a big thing of that. But like, listen, you're the parent. Who's paying for that phone bill? Is the kid paying for the phone bill?
Right.
They're not paying for the phone bill. They're not buying the phones. So guess what? If you don't want to play sports and get good grades, I'm not paying for shit. You're gonna get a job. You're gonna bag groceries. I'll meet you halfway in the middle for a 1999 Honda Civic when it's 2030. Great. You're lost. I mean, and it's just like you have to be able to like teach your kids some of those hard lessons from the way that you were raised or the way that your mindset is, right? You know, that's what this is all about. Is just, I mean, kids are just a product of their environment.
And you think it comes down to being an example?
1,000,000%. I mean, again, it stems back to my mentors, my father, my uncle and all his buddies, military friends, my cousin who's an FBI agent in Miami. I mean, like you have to surround yourself. This is another thing. It's like I read something really good that was like, okay, you make $300,000 a year. Surround yourself with guys that are making $3 million a year, and you'll reach their
perspectives change.
Perspective change.
Yeah.
You know, when they're like, don't worry, you know, this tab's on me, and you're like, man, one day I would love to buy your guys' tab. You know, it's just like surround yourself with people that are better than you. Because if you're always the alpha leader in the pack, you're probably never going to get better.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to be content in life, like I'm the big dog in the pack. But if you're that, you know, always be a leader. Don't ever be a follower, right? I mean, if you're a follower, you're a loser. I mean, be that lead by example type of mentality and want to reach that. And just surrounding yourself with people is, I think, like, positive influences, people that are better than you. Like, you are 10 times faster than me right now. You're in 10 times better shape than me right now. Like,
Well,
I would love to be that runner.
I was gonna say it depends the measurement though, because you get us under a bar with weight on it, and I'm sure it's skewed the whole other direction.
Yeah.
But
No.
is that contributing to? Because I want to hear about the new job, but I also want to hear about the sacrifice. You mentioned that it's a pay cut for a little while, long-term benefit obviously, but that there's more time now with the family. Is that contributing to it? Like recognizing that there is a need to be an example and be a little bit more I don't know, physically present too as your kids are getting a little bit older. Is that the main? What is the driving factor with this change?
I don't want to raise orphans. I mean, I want to be home with my kids, and I've realized this. The last 5 years, I was like, no, I love my job. I'm just traveling the world, and it was like,
and it is cool.
It is cool. It's great. I mean, I'm so thankful my experience. The people that got me to where I'm at now have set me up to take my dream job at American Airlines and be a pilot and fly passengers, because I'm very much so a people person. I can talk to anybody. I can talk to the wall next to me if I need to. It's like, so, like, just like. I lost my train of thought there.
The reason for the shift to American Airlines.
Shift to American is being home more with my family. Like, I have a huge family tattoo on my ribs, and I live and die by that. Like, I got that when I was 18 years old in high school, and I came home, and my dad was like, "You really went and did that?" And I'm like, This is who I am. Like, I will die for my family. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, I consider you family. I'd go to war for you. Like, we're good buddies. We've barely known each other, but I feel like we're brothers. It's like we share the same mindset. And being able to take this job at American just allows me to be home more. And I've seen my uncle do it. The guy never works. He'll work a premium overtime trip, and he makes deep into the six figures. And it's like, how can I work as little as possible and make as much as possible while I can, be my son's coach, go to my daughter's dance recitals, and just be home all the time. And then when I want to take a month off, I'm like, hey, let's go fly to Rome. It's like, oh, cool. You guys want to go to Sydney this summer? We'll go to Sydney. It's like, I didn't travel as a kid because I was engulfed in sports. And this is the downside of being raised in a big city, and it kind of scares me to raise my kids in Phoenix. And it's hard to say because that's where I was raised and I had a great upbringing. But, like, I never traveled as a kid because I was in competitive sports. It was club soccer. It was club track and field. It was high school football. And when you go to a Division 5A1 high school, the largest high school in the state, it's like you miss a practice, you miss a game. It's like, good luck getting any playing time whatsoever, especially being small and undersized, 130 pounds as a senior in high school. It's like, oh, you're 5'8" and you're 130 pounds? Yeah, sorry, you're not competing with this 6 foot, 200-pound guy next to you. It's
right.
Like, but I'm like 10 times faster than him. It's like, it doesn't matter. So, like, just being able to be home more and be a family man is like, I want to raise my son. Like, it's like, of course I love my daughter to death, but it's like having a son, like, men need those father figures in their life. And there's tons of studies out there that say, like, boys that are raised without fathers in their homes, it's like, I think it's like 75, 80%, maybe more. They turn out to be like drug addicts and gangs, murderers, or, serial killers, whatever it is, whatever the list is. It's like extremely, like, it's on the extreme side of like, no, boys need a father figure.
Yeah.
And I can tell my son, like, when I'm gone a lot, I can tell my son is definitely more like, he's only 6 years old, but I can tell that he's definitely like craving that father figure in his life. And then it's like I come home for 2 weeks and I'm like, okay, well, I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And it's like, oh, how many sleeps are you going to be gone? I'm like, I'm going to be gone for 16 sleeps, buddy.
And he doesn't even understand, how.
He doesn't. And then it's like, oh, you're extended. Oh, daddy, you're picking up an overtime trip. Okay. And it's like, oh, so you're going to buy us new toys? And it's like, I mean, sure, I'd love to buy you toys, but I got to pay down debt first.
Right.
It's like, sure, you might get a couple extra Christmas presents out of, working 26 days in October. But it's like, at the end of the day, I will never get the time back with my kids. I can always make more money.
Because I was just going to ask, you know, even at the sacrifice of a pay cut, it outweighs it.
Well, it's only a pay cut for like the first year. Like I'm getting ready to upgrade to captain, and let's just throw a number out there. Like I'm gonna upgrade to captain and make $200,000 a year, and I'm gonna go to American and I'm gonna make $100,000 a year my first year. But then the second year, I'm making more than I would have made as upgrading to captain.
Right.
But I can upgrade to captain at American. Like the airlines are in such unprecedented times of Delta, United, and American all getting these new extremely lucrative contracts. I mean, you're talking $450 an hour type of contracts for the top pay scales on the largest jets.
Wow.
And it's like
because of a labor shortage or why?
Yeah, there's so many pilot retirements. You know, all these boomers that are 60 years old and older are retiring. Like that's the cool thing about American is like, you know, I interviewed with United, I got turned down. And to me, that's a blessing in disguise. Everything happens for a reason. You know, I was a phenomenal soccer player, and I'll stem this everything happens for a reason. I'll tie it all in together, right? So, like, my dad was like, I wanted to go play tackle football. And my dad was like, no, you should stick with soccer. Like, you're leading the state in goals. Like, you're doing it. Like, you can be small, like Lionel Messi, and be the best soccer player in the world. You're not the biggest guy, but you're absolutely, like, you have the skill. And I was like, nope, I want to play football. So I wouldn't play football. My dad was like, I don't know. And then I never played soccer again. And I still play soccer as an adult. Like I'm in leagues in Phoenix, and I would love to get in leagues in Durango. And everything happens for a reason. I quit, and then I did that. And then it was like I got into track. And then I got injured my whole senior year. I was a field goal kicker and had Nike football camps, everything lined up to kick at any college in the nation. I mean, I was kicking 55-yard field goals in high school. And I got injured. So then I just fell back on the crutch of track and field. Like, well, I was a state champion. I'm fast enough. Like, I can go run at D1 college. You know, that's cool. I'm not going to be the fastest guy, but I can say I did it. And so I fell back on that. And then it was like, I didn't get along with the head coach. And so I quit track and field. And then it was like, okay, you know, my parents had moved the Flagstaff when I went to college at NAU. And then I was like, I applied for ASU, started talking to my high school track coach. And I was like, hey, can I get a spot on the ASU team? You know, head coach calls me. He's like, yeah. You're our guy. You are our 400 hurdler at Arizona State University. And I'm like, Pac-12, Nike sponsored. I'm like, great, count me in. And my dad is like, I'm not paying for that. Get a job. I was like, okay. So I got a job at a supplement company.
Yeah.
Got a job at One Stop Nutrition in Phoenix. Learned all about my owner and boss made me literally go down the entire wall of vitamins and supplements of hundreds and read each label and be able to explain to anybody what it was. And he would start quizzing me and be like, hey, what is this? What does this do? Is this good for your joints? No, it's good for your brain function. Where's this source from? What's this? You know, it's like, and then I ended up going to pilot school, and it's like, I ended up knocking my girlfriend, my now wife, up 4 months into knowing her at 22 years old. I had a kid at 23 years old. It was like, just everything happens for a reason. And not getting that job at United has led me to this job at American, where it's like, I'm born and raised in Arizona. American is a Phoenix-based company. They're a Dallas-based company, but one of their largest bases is in Phoenix. And it's like, wait, I can be home. Like, I talked to a buddy who's got 3 kids, too, I worked with at SkyWest. And I was like, okay, dude, like, I'm going to my interview today. Like, I got to ask all the hard questions, you know? And he was like, I'm just bidding long call reserve, and I'm home. I'm flying, like, 3 days a month, and I'm making $10,000 a month. I'm like, 3 days a month, $10,000, count me in. I'm like, it's
yeah.
like, I can just be home. Then it's like, oh, you want to go and make $30,000 that month? Okay, go pick up a couple overtime trips. And it's like, it's unbelievable. My dad always jokes with me. He's always like, you pilots make way too much money. Like you guys don't ever work, and you make way too much money.
Well, but there's clearly a demand for it. I mean, obviously, and it sounds like, is the retirement rate outpacing the new licenses? Do you have any idea?
No. So this is a big thing. Is it kind of stems back to the media. They think that there's a big pilot shortage. There's really not. I think the demand is higher than ever. But when you look at what we call ATP, airline transport pilot certificates given, there was like, I don't want to just throw out a number because I don't know the number, but there was like an exponentially more ATP certificates given than there is pilot retirements. People just don't want to do it anymore because it's too expensive. You have Joe Biden's economy over here, and you can't even afford a $5 gallon of milk anymore, like you're living in Hawaii, and it's $100,000 to go to pilot school. But I knew that going into it. I was told right up front, you were going to pull $100,000 out and go to pilot school, but in 7 to 10 years, you are going to make well into the six figures
and not have to work,
for the rest
these
of your life.
crazy hours.
It's it's like being able to retire with $15 million because the retirement at the airlines is a 16 to 18% direct contribution. It's like, well, when you start making $250,000 a year, it's like, I got to find ways to spend money. I got to find ways to put that, into college funds or whatever it is, It's like, so just the whole thing, just going to American it's setting my kids up for generational wealth. I don't have generational wealth. My parents didn't come from generational wealth. I have all the loans in my name. My parents didn't pay for my college. My dad bought me a used truck when I was in high school because I played sports and I got good grades. But it was just like being able to build that for your kids and instill that in them. Like, listen, if you work hard and you have the motivation and drive to like be successful in life, you can pass this on to your kids, and then my grandkids can pass down to their kids, type of deal. It's all about building generational wealth.
And it's almost like you're trying to build not only generational wealth, but like these generational mindset characteristics,
habits,
building
habits.
Yeah. So what's because there's kind of this balance too between being a provider from a financial perspective, being the leader of the household in terms of raising your kids and those things that we had mentioned. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on because it's something that I struggle with sometimes. It's like like right now, for example, I've been at the office for 11 hours, but I'm trying to build something and, putting it in. And it's this balance of like the provider role versus the actual, like being there for our kids. We have an obligation to be there for them financially.
Yep.
But we also have an obligation to be there for them, physically and emotionally and things like that. And it sounds like that's part of this contributing factors to the excitement behind the new job, because it almost seems like it's going to get you to a position where you can better do both. Is that kind of how how it's feeling?
The work-life balance, like you started Ascent Digital and you're blowing up and you're like, holy cow, like I'm finally doing it. Like this is it. And you are putting in all this extreme effort right now. But I will promise you, this hard work in like, let's just say 5 years, you're going to be back just managing. You're just going to be running the podcast, and this office is going to be this entire building. And it's
I hope.
I mean, dude, look, you're from a small town in Durango, and you're doing shoots out in North Carolina on the Rocky Mountain Railroad. Like I think I look at you, you look up to me, and I look up to you. I'm like, dude, this dude is doing it out here. Like he's running 120-mile months. He's running a marketing company, and it's just like, again, surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, that you think are better than you, right? At the end of the day, you're like, sure, I can always be better, but you're like, I think I'm doing pretty good in life. I think I got, I got hot wives, we got good looking kids, we have successful jobs, we have nice houses, nice cars. It's like, great. But it's like, there's always that one step.
That next level.
Like, I can buy a nicer truck. I can buy a nicer ranch. I can buy a nicer tractor. It's like, how do I get that? I need to find a way to just like constantly reach that next level. There is no level 10 in life. It's level infinite.
Yeah. How do you, because you talked about like, we've touched on, social media and influencers and surrounding ourselves with people that lift us up and motivate us and things like that. What I'm finding is that gets harder and harder. So I'd love to hear from you, at this stage in your life, how are you making sure that you're surrounded by the right people? How are you creating that community and, the people that are having positive impacts on your life and things like that? What does that look like at this stage?
At 30 years old, I'm very blessed to just like some of my best friends in life are kids that I've known since elementary school. And I don't know if I just got lucky and chose the right friends and was in the right group. But like, some of my friends are very successful in finance. One of my buddies has a podcast too, owns his own lending company in Phoenix. It's like, just, you know, a lot of airline buddies. You know, you and I end up, you know, we barely know each other through T-ball, but all of a sudden we're best friends on social media.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, just finding that click. It's like, it's almost like, you know, the second, you know, like when people connect, you just know. It's like, it's almost like, you know, just brainwaves meet and they connect. And it's like, this is my guy. This is my person. This is who I want to surround myself with. And if not everybody's good at, you know, deciphering who they want to surround themselves with, but it's just like, if you can just get lucky somehow, or just be able to find that algorithm of who I need to surround myself with, your chances of success are a lot better than not. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that it's hard to measure it. Like, it's very, you know, anecdotal and speculative, but I do believe there's something about like attracting what you want to attract. You know, like you put it out there, it comes back type of thing. Like, I've never been able to really fully, you know, measure that or define it, but there's something definitely that happens where like-minded people become attracted to each other. You know, you end up kind of like similar spheres of influence or similar, you know, interests or whatever it is, and it, you know, it kind of happens. I'm curious, with the, you know, with the shift in the job, which sounds like is, you know, somewhat soon, you know, on the
February
horizon.
28th. That's
amazing.
The start date.
It'll now, you know, provide a little bit of more work-life balance and things like that. What's on the docket from the fitness side of things? Because I know too, didn't you just get sponsored by a supplement company? And
not sponsored by, but I became what they call a Legionnaire. I became almost like a, not necessarily
like an ambassador
coach,
type,
but like a type of ambassador for First Form. And being in the supplement industry for 12 years now, you know, I've never just wanted to like get a sponsor and be like, oh, this is who I'm sponsored by. Here, take this product. I like truly stand behind their products. Like Andy Frisella, the guy who started 75 Hard, it's his company actually, him and his brothers. And like, I love that their company motto. They're not going to care that I post political stuff. They don't care how many followers I have. They don't care who I surround myself with. It's like, do you just want to change people's lives day by day? And like their products, like their multivitamin, for, you know, they call it Microfactor. It's all soft gels. I watched the video on their website. You know, part of the training of joining the team was like, you have to educate yourself on all their supplements,
right?
Because, you know, I can't just be telling you like, hey, you need to take this because it's good for you. You know, it's like, no, you need to have an understanding of like taking soft gel multivitamins is easier for your body to digest. Your body's going to take those minerals and those vitamins much easier. You know, you're not going to have the gas. You're not going to have the stomach bloating. It's like their greens powder is all organic, gluten-free. There's enzymes in there that help you absorb the nutrients that you need. And especially as ultra runners, like my brother is sick all the time right now. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I think you need to switch your products because you say you're taking this immunity shot or this mineral boost. And I'm like, and you're taking a greens powder. But I'm like, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Like, what do you really know? Like, and it sounds very sales pitchy, but it's like I speak from passion. Like I've been in the supplement industry for a long time. I understand the quality products of where it comes. Like their fish oil is not farm raised. Probably 95% of your fish oil you'll ever buy is farm fish. There's no nutritional value in that. You get farm fish from the store, you're putting diseases and those fish just eat shit at the bottom of the ocean. That's what they feed them. Literally, I'm not kidding. And it's like having just wild caught fish oil. I've noticed a big difference, man.
Huh.
It's unbelievable. Like as an ultra runner, I don't know what supplements you take, but if I could send you my link and say, hey, just try these supplements for a month, 2 months. You know, it's a little bit pricey, but just tell me if you truly feel a difference. And I would love to just like get your take and come back in 2 months and be like, hey, did you feel a difference? No. Okay. Well then, I you know, maybe it's not for everybody. You know, like, maybe it's not as good.
I will do it, and I will tell you the truth.
I know you will.
But because, you know, there's clearly this like this passion. You know, the intensity and the love. You know, for the supplement world and the physical fitness clearly hasn't gone anywhere.
Nope.
So I'm just curious. You know, what's what's next? You know, what are you? I mean, are you thinking you'll pursue some of the
What's next
the
is a
app stuff,
75-year-old guy in the gym in Flagstaff that was squatting 315 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what's next.
So you're looking at it as a long-term lifestyle endeavor, more so than like a other pursuit of you know.
I will never stop working out, whether it gets me 1 million followers or 0 followers. Like, at the end of the day, I stand behind who I am, and fitness is my passion. I'm going to just lead by example and get better 1% every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, like, it's like the whole first form came to fruition because they're trying to start their outdoor team and create an outdoor supplement of, like, you know, elk jerky sticks and outdoor supplements and electrolytes for hunting and hiking in the woods and mountain biking or whatever it is. And I saw this ad on Instagram that was like, oh, apply to the first form or the pro staff outdoors team. And I was like, oh, I'll just throw this in. And I got a call. Like, I got a text from this girl named Caitlin. And it was like, hey, love to interview you. And I was like, oh, great. And she was like, I think you're absolutely perfect for this. Like, we don't care about followers. I love your attitude. And I'm like, again, I'm 1 in 1 million to get the, you know, there's probably a couple million people that I'm guessing have applied to this, and they're only taking 2 candidates. But it's like, if I get this, I think I could really take the fitness goal to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, right now, I don't really have any driving force. I just do it for myself. I do it for my kids. I do it for my wife. Like, you know, my wife stays in great shape. If I get out of shape, my wife's probably not going to love me anymore. It's like, you know, if I stay in phenomenal shape, my wife's probably not going to get out of shape because, well, you know, you get where I'm going with that, you know?
Your wife's going to, in fact, it's cool because you can see how, you know, talking about how like minds and, you know, all that, but your wife's going to pace me in my ultra, which is just, I can't wait for, and to see, you know, just the like-mindedness and you know, how it translates into the whole household.
I know.
It's just so, it's cool.
I know. I absolutely love it, man. It's, you know, it's funny. I told my wife we'd be done at 7. I'm like, we're still talking. And I'm like, sorry, honey, I'll be down in a sec. It's like, you know, like there's no end in sight. You know, we could talk for 3 hours, 4 hours. You know, we could have one of those like ultra marathon podcasts on Joe Rogan, just talking about life and fitness goals and career aspirations and family and, you know, the whole 9 yards. You know, you want to dive into politics next time? Let me tell you, I'm in there like swimwear, baby. You want to talk about politics? I'm there.
Right. Yeah. No, it's been awesome, Eric, and I want to thank you a ton for taking the time, you know, to be with me today, because your time is super valuable, and I also know that today is a big day for you.
Yeah, of course.
We've been trying to schedule the podcast for months, and so I appreciate the fact that you kept it a priority.
I've had to reschedule like 3 times. I'm like, I told you, I'm sorry, I picked up an overtime trip.
You're grinding.
I'm like, oh, $10,000 or a podcast. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I gotta pick this up.
Yeah, no, but I want to thank you, and I appreciate you, you know, humoring me and letting me get some of your perspective today, because I think it's super, super valuable.
Yeah.
I think that there's a whole lot to learn from even the takeaways from this conversation already, with delayed gratification and discipline and balance and, you know, all these great themes that we've touched on.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure you know the tradition, but I've got an Inspire by Example shirt for you.
Love it. Oh, not the chasing greatness.
Because you are inspiring by example, and the stuff that you're doing is making an impact, and you're inspiring people. You're bringing people along and you know, making huge positive impacts.
Absolutely.
And so I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for this. I'm gonna wear this in pride. I'm gonna lead by example or inspire by example, and just